What's good, Bolt fam? Welcome to another edition of BoltBlitz Uncut. I'm your host, Booga Peters, and joined by producer and co-host extraordinaire, Taylor Bloom. You know what we're here for. Harbaugh yesterday in Phoenix, among all the other coaches there. They had a little bit of a meeting with the media and such, and we're going to kind of talk and go over some of the tidbits, including how we find out that Cole Strange is now going to be considered the starting right guard. Taylor, you talked about it in the pre-show. We'll just start there. Because of the money that he's getting paid via that contract, it probably should have been expected, even by me, or especially by me, considering how closely I've been trying to watch these contracts and how it relates to their idea of whether or not he's going to be a starter. But thoughts on Cole Strange? Yes, he has familiarity with Mike McDaniel and O-line coach Butch Barry, but your thoughts on him just coming out and saying that he's going to be the right guard?
Well, it kind of contradicts the slogan that Harbaugh always uses, competitors welcome, just handing someone the starting right guard position. Even though he's had some starting experience and has worked well in a Mike McDaniel offense, as a Chargers fan, I was hoping that, they would go out in the draft or maybe even sign another free agent that, could compete with Cole Strange. But given the fact that they gave him more money than a backup would get, it's not surprising that he's just come out and said it. And, I hope that Cole Strange has an all-pro year next year. I wish him nothing but the best, but it just goes back to the point that free agency this year has just been too underwhelming for my liking, unfortunately. And I know for you as well.
And here's the deal. Joe Ortiz comes over from the Ravens, and Eric DaCosta, he's recently was quoted as saying, we don't really do a lot in free agency. We like to draft and develop. Like, that's cool, Joe, that you kind of maintain that type of thing, and you're all big on the comp formula, and that's sweet and all that. Baltimore's been a very good team for a long time, but not good enough to win a Super Bowl. So Is this the secret sauce? Is this the recipe to success? I'm not so sure, but I want Cole Strange to be the best guard in the NFL. I think that would be incredible. I don't know how much tape you've watched, but I watched enough Miami. Now he can get out there. He can move a little bit. I was a little surprised at his movement skills, but my Cole Strange thing is all rooted in watching Bill Belichick take him in the first round and me going, I don't know if I had him ranked. Like I did, I guarantee he was a 6th or 7th rounder. And, I've been wrong in that regard too. I did have Colton Miller as a 5th round prospect, and he ended up, he was taken in the first round by the Raiders, and he started really poorly, but he's actually one of the better tackles in the league right now. So here's to hoping and wishing that Cole Strange will also be a Colton Miller-like player, except Colton was a rookie. Cole Strange has been doing this for a little bit now, but I love that you brought up the competitors welcome thing and how it's kind of almost contrarian for him to just say Cole Strange is the starter. This is an O-line centric building. We all remember the first thing, competitors welcome, all that stuff. And then they trotted out Bozeman for 2 years. And listen, come on.
Yeah. And I do want to touch on Bozeman real quick. I know he's retired, and someone put out an April Fool's joke that he was coming out of retirement today.
I saw it.
But I was listening to Daniel Popper's stream yesterday, and he said that if Bozeman didn't retire, that he would not be surprised if he would be the starter going into next year. Like, it kind of just worked out where he retired, Biotish got released, and it kind of worked out where the Chargers went and got him. Now, do I believe that? Kind of.
I know,
but, he made a good point saying Biotish kind of fell into their lap where they never would have had a shot at McGovern, who went back to Buffalo, and Linderbaum is going to be out of their price range anyway.
Yeah. Here's the deal. I believe that. I believe Popper's probably right on the money. Had he not retired, thank you, Bradley Bozeman, for doing everybody a favor. Your wife, too. She probably got sick of defending his ass on social media. I don't get, considering how much the Chargers or any quarterback is getting paid, I'll never understand not putting the best offensive line possible in front of them. Not juxtaposing players in and putting, square peg into a round hole bullshit. Like, just proven guys. And I know it's expensive. Honestly, Biotish wouldn't even be the center if he didn't count against the comp formula. They wouldn't have made a move for him, which, whatever, maybe that's debatable, but I highly doubt it because he's protecting that so he can get that 4th round pick so he can take Kyle Kennard senior 2 years from now, or whatever the hell it's going to be. I love the idea of adding picks via the comp formula. It's a free pick, so to speak, via the way you manage your cap. But he hasn't exactly been great in the 3rd and 4th rounds overall. I mean, his 5th round, I mean, give me a break. Cam Hart and Tarheeb still pretty sexy. Rondé Gadsden, not too bad. Like, he's done some good stuff later. He's not like Telesco, and I'm not saying that. I'm not at all suggesting that he's a worse GM than Tom Telesco. It hasn't been here long enough for me to say that. I kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry. I just want to see the best line in front of him possible. I don't get why you're not spending the funds to do that, regardless of the comp pick formula. You pay him $252 million. I mean, why not? And he's hurt all the time. The guy's RoboCop out there, stiff arming dudes with a broken hand.
Yeah, I mean, he is your key to winning a Super Bowl. Like, there's no question about it. So the fact that they continue to piece together this offensive line year after year is so frustrating. Just as a fan, seeing your $250 million quarterback get beat around in the backfield, poor Justin Herbert's going to have such bad arthritis in his left hand when he retires, with all the plates and screws and surgeries he's had on that hand already. I don't understand why they didn't want to push the needle a little bit more and spend more money in free agency to really boost that offensive line and come out of free agency with a guy you think, okay, he can start at left guard, he can start at right guard, and it's better than what we had last year.
Listen, the Becton experiment didn't work out. Bradley Bozeman tried his ass off, but it's just I'm glad to see that they're both gone at this point. It was one of those things where you saw the cap number, the salary cap space the Chargers had, and I talked myself into it. I let the internet talk me into it, Taylor. How stupid
I did too. I'm like, the Chargers are going to open up the checkbook. Joe Ortiz is going to spend that money, and we were both wrong.
Flat wrong. And then, again, you have the DaCosta quotes, and you have the history of the Ravens and all that shit. But I really did think, listen, after what Justin Herbert's mobile as fuck. Give me a break. Very mobile quarterback.
Insane athlete.
Insane. And I don't know, a guy like him who's that mobile and that athletic should not be getting hit that often. No design boots, nothing to get him into space or move the pocket very often. No quicks. Omarion Hampton, excuse me, he's a good receiver. Not great, but good receiver out of the backfield. Kamani Vidal, his first year, his only big play was that wheel route touchdown. He proved he could catch the ball a little bit. It's a weird thing for me. And I hope that before it's too late, Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz, the brain trust there, they find a way to, I don't mean manipulate the draft. I think a trade down is in order at this point because of Vega probably is not going to be there. 22 need to add more picks anyway, because 5 isn't really cutting it. You don't have a lot of edge depth. And we talked about that pre-show too. It's looking like via the conversation that, Harbaugh was having yesterday, edge could likely be a round 1 pick. TJ Parker, Cassius Howell, Akeem Mesidor. Mesidor I like. I don't like being 25 years old.
Yeah, but the argument there is that he's mature, ready to step into this defense. Like, there's no need to really develop him like you do with some of these younger guys, which that's a good point, especially if it's win now for the Chargers, which I think it is.
I hope so. But because we are, you and me both, are considering it win now mode, get him a goddamn offensive line that's actually great in the interior. If you're really trying to win now, I think Herbert can make a lot of receivers look good who aren't that great. Anybody remember DeAndre Carter? He was a returner. He was looking like a damn all-pro at times.
Yes. Yeah. He got some money in free agency when he left the Chargers too.
Yeah, the Raiders paid him. Of course they did. They love picking up our trash for sure. Yeah. One of the other things that Harbaugh talked about, Khalil Mack is back at $18 million this year. I think you, me, and about a handful of people were the only ones who were like, I don't know about him coming back, especially at that number. But that being said, he's still a phenomenal run defender. Keeping him healthy, I think, is very, very important. Yep. But your thoughts on Mack coming back, and we're ready to settle in with 52, right?
Yeah, based on how the edge market played out this free agency, it kind of looks like a steal. Was it Danielle Hunter got $40 million for 1 year? Jalen Phillips got $100 million or $120 million, something like that, from the Panthers. So it looks like a steal. He's beloved in that locker room, beloved in the organization. And if the Chargers do go edge in round 1, you got a veteran guy that can help develop whoever the draft pick is the same way he did with Tooley. So, after the dust is finally settled, it does look like a really good signing by the Chargers. And I'm happy to have him back. I just thought that the number was going to be too high, but the market kind of dictated that he was on the cheaper end.
You did what we should all do. And I hope all the kids out there listening, there aren't a lot of them because their parents won't let them. I hope that you're realizing what she just did there. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I feel wrong about what I said. I feel wrong about not wanting him back. Like you said, when you start to hash through everything, it does make sense, especially, there is some value to a veteran presence in the locker room. A lot of people think that shit's overrated. I couldn't disagree more. I just don't want the whole team to be full of veteran presences. You got to have some youth, especially when you have a $250 million quarterback. You said the $250 million, and that really hits just like, damn it, why won't they protect him?
Yeah, it sounds a lot better saying that, like there's more magnitude of $250 million than $250 million.
Oh, God, I would love to have that problem, though.
Yeah.
Just trying to decide how to describe that. Lord have mercy. So we're glad, by the way, because Taylor has been on the show for a while now. And one of the things we did talk about several episodes ago prior to him coming back was I didn't know if it was the best idea. I'm not recanting that. I've just changed my mind, just as you just did. When you really start to look at how it could play out, it could be very useful, especially if they take that edge in round 1 or round 2. There's Derek Moore sitting in round 2 who should be there. Former Michigan product. He can get after the quarterback. I know the Senior Bowl clip of him dump trucking Markel Bell, the 6'9" Miami offensive tackle, was something that was thrown all over the place. That's one rep, y'all. But he's got some speed too. He's just a little undersized. It'll be interesting to see where he goes in the draft period. But there are still, I wouldn't go too much further than the second round, though, if they're going to add an edge, unless you're looking at Chris O'Leary's guy out of Western Michigan University, Ndambe Tucker. Now, he's a guy, he had a career high in sacks. I think he had 17. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. It might have been like 16 and a half. But he's a guy you could maybe wait till the 4th round, but there's somebody who's going to sneak up for him because they know of the relationship that him and O'Leary have.
Yep.
What would be the latest round you'd address edge at? And then we'll move to the next one.
I think it's the 3rd.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's the 3rd. I think there's a lot of good edge rushers in this draft. I know one name I keep hearing is Gabe Yakis out of Illinois, who seems to be climbing too, and I think you can get him in round 2. But I'm not sure what the Chargers are going to do in round 1. I have a feeling they may trade that 22nd overall pick, just because they need more players on this roster. 5 picks is not going to cut it in this draft.
No, and it's funny because everybody rips on this draft class and they don't think it's that great and all that happy horse shit. The middle, like once you get past like pick 20, well, probably like 16 if we're being honest, you're running out of quality players. But that being said, the guys that you're taking it in the 20s are going to be very similar to the guys in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in this draft class. There are some exciting players that actually do fit a lot of the needs that the Chargers had. I don't think I'd go past the 3rd round either. I think that'd be the latest that I would go for an edge. And I would not at all be shocked, like you said, especially if they stand pat at 22, the edge is the player they take in the 1st round.
Yep.
After the Khalil Mack thing, Jim Harbaugh is still in his honeymoon phase with Mike McDaniel, which is nice to see. Awesome with a capital A. Learning a lot about football, maybe. Getting rid of some old antiquated thoughts about 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of Schembechler bullshit from Michigan back in the day. But obviously we're excited about McDaniel being there, but seeing him constantly provide effusive praise for him is obviously promising.
1,000,000%. The chips are all in on Mike McDaniel. You can make the argument that the lack of free agent signings on this offensive line is tied to what Mike McDaniel can do with Justin Herbert and the weapons they do have. I hope that the bet's right. I really do. I hope this Mike McDaniel scheme pays off and there's less hits for Herbert and more guys get open downfield and this run game's explosive. But it's great to see that Harbaugh and McDaniel are working together. Seems phenomenal at this point.
They're the odds.
Yeah, especially since you and I talked and we're like, I don't know how these two are going to work together. And this was before we really thought Mike McDaniel was an actual OC candidate for the Chargers. But I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be awesome listening to those two go back and forth in press conferences this year.
Oh, please. I
Gonna
need
be-
one now. I
gonna be
need it
gold.
now. I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I'm on record. I literally told people, no, there's no way Mike McDaniel's going to be a Charger. They're two completely different football minds. Lo and behold, even though they didn't get the offensive line I would like in front of Herbert yet at this point, they did find a way to meld those two together. And it'll be interesting to see how much. I mean, no, I think it's pretty clear. Mike McDaniel is going to be the offense because Cole Strange being there and Butch Berry, that it's kind of showing the cards on the table, as in Mike McDaniel's going to have say in the draft probably too, as far as who's going to fit what he's doing. I'm really glad you brought up Gabe Yakas too, by the way. He's one of my favorite edge rushers in the draft, and he can be a second rounder. More good news, though. It's nice to see the Harbaugh and McDaniel love getting spread around, but really good news. Rashawn Slater had his schedule. He's been working out at the Bolt. I think you and I both saw pictures of him a few weeks ago too. So he's there grinding. Thoughts on that? And that's promising.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I hope that all the rehab that Slater's doing and being ahead of schedule pays off where he's ready for week 1. And he looks like his all-pro self. You know, this injury is super tough to come back from. As we've talked about, it's not easy for a player to return to their prior form after patella injury. So I hope that all this hard work pays off. He comes back, starting left tackle, and this offensive line is leaps and bounds from what it was last season.
We talked about this pre-show too. I sure wish they'd say something about Joe Alt.
Yeah.
although he is doing okay for himself because he's now apparently advertising for a cold.
Yeah, I had gone through my Instagram feed and Joe Alt's, it popped up and it looks like an ad, and it's Joe Alt sitting in a cold plunge tub with his shirt off, advertising for, I don't know what brand it was. When I find it, I'll send it to you so you can post it.
You got to, please. I gotta share it. I have to.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like a current video that was taken, but it's him sitting in a tub doing a cold plunge ad.
Huh. No, that's it. Hey, make that money, man. We're all about making that money.
I hope that means that he's ahead of schedule too, and he'll be back for week 1. Injury not nearly as severe as Slater, but still, with him saying, I did everything I could possibly do to this ankle, it's worrisome to me, especially with the injury history of, how this offensive line shapes out year to year.
I think should he even be 85-90% Joe Alt, he's still one of the top 10 tackles in the league.
Yeah.
The offense, we saw what it was like without Rashawn last year, obviously, because he didn't play at all. But weeks 1 through 4, that Justin Herbert was protected far better. He's just so capable, and just a guy with that type of length and that athleticism at 6'9" with that type of movement. Man, go take that cold plunge if it helps get those things right. I think part of it too is because he did both ankles last year, wasn't it?
No, I think it was the same one. I think he got injured in the Giants game.
Yeah.
And then he got rolled up on in the Titans game. But I think it was I thought it was Sebastian Joseph Day ran into someone and then he rolled onto him.
I thought Sebastian Joseph Day knocked Zion into him. I could be completely wrong. He kind of rolled into his legs. It was just a freak thing. It's just Zion he's a strong guy. I don't like to see him get bullied like that, but he's no longer our problem.
Yeah,
Cleveland, I cannot believe you paid him that much money.
Have fun in Cleveland.
Oh, God. Have you ever been to Cleveland?
I was there once when I was a freshman in high school, and I remember like the bus was driving around the city. Like we were going to some band concert, and there was like no one walking around. Like, this is a city? Like, I was like, oh, okay.
Taylor's from New York and New Jersey too, so like she's not used to not seeing people everywhere, regardless of the time of day. No, I went out to Cleveland several years ago during Superstorm Sandy to watch the Chargers lose 7-6 to the Cleveland Browns when Robert Meacham dropped a wide open post for what would have been like a 60-yard touchdown, and a safety Atari Bigby, great name, not a great player, dropped a pick 6 that he would have walked in from like the 6-yard line. And then I got stuck in Superstorm Sandy on the way back. I'm passing, and I'm in a minivan, mind you. I'm passing dozens and dozens of cars that are off in ditches. It's like 20 miles per hour. It's supposed to be a 9.5-hour drive, turned into like 14.5, 15 hours. I had to work too, so it was horrible. It was just, and I was in banking, so it's suit and tie and bullshit that I hate. And God, I'll never go back. But it was just, that was my last time I was in Cleveland. But every time I've been to Cleveland, I'm just like, I cannot wait to leave. It's not, I know the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's there, and that's cool. I'm, obviously, I'm a former opera performance major, so I'm into all kinds of music and such, but that's not enough of a draw for me to go to Cleveland. It's just not. There's trash. I mean, there's trash in all cities, I guess, but it just nothing impressive about that place at all. You talked about Tyler Biadasz. It's nice to have him say some positive things about him. You referred to him as like a coach on the field, and you want that in your center. Yep. I'm not at all saying we're hearkening back to Corey Linsley days, but it's nice to see that may be the case. Thoughts on him as another coach on the field and what he's going to do at that center spot?
Yeah, I think he's going to be another quote unquote leader on that offensive line. When healthy, top 10 center in the league. And that is leaps and bounds above what we've had with the Bradley Bozeman experience these past couple of years. So I think it's definitely a proven. And if you take a step back at like a 30,000 foot view, and if everything does break right for the Chargers, all Slater's back, you got Biadasz, Cole Strange. Okay, you can make a comparison maybe to a Zion S player because they're very similarly graded. And you draft a left guard in the first or second round this year, probably the second round at this point. It is a much improved offensive line. There is a case he made that this could be a top 10 offensive line in the NFL this year. If everything breaks the Chargers' way, these guys stay healthy, an offensive line we do take in this draft doesn't become a bust. There's a lot of variables there, but I think there is the potential when it's all said and done that if things break right for the Chargers, it'd be a top 10 offensive line.
If Biadasz can just hold up his end of the bargain, if you will, he doesn't necessarily even have to be that huge extension of Harbaugh as a coach on the field. Again, God willing, if you have Slater and Alt out there with Biadasz, and then it looks like Cole Strange is the starting right guard, you're going to get a lot of help from Alt no matter what, just because he can do a lot of things that usually you need two blockers to do. So I'm excited for him to get back. I would really love word on that. I did forget that the quote that you mentioned earlier from the exit interviews, where it's like, yeah, I did pretty much everything bad that I could do to it. Sure wish we had some news on that, but that's okay. We'll be patient. We'll wait for that. And I'll tell you, he seems like one hell of a tough guy. So I would expect him to be back. I'm just not sure if it's going to be by week 1. I feel like we'd be getting a little more news by now, but there's still plenty of time before the start of the season. I would expect him to be limited to start off mini camps and OTAs and stuff, though, if he's even out there in pads. I'm not sure, but we're going to find out. I'm not trying to be an alarmist and get people worried, but
no, but you have to be cautious because, this is the Chargers and they have terrible injury luck when it comes to their offensive linemen. So
it's a tale as old as time. I don't really remember too many years in my 4+ decades of watching this shit and them not be banged up on the whole line. Hey, why don't we just drop that bit for a little while and maybe, just maybe, get a little luck when it comes to the healthy offensive line, because in tow with that means a healthy Justin Herbert most likely. And I think that's all we want to see. Robo Herbert back there running for his life is one of the most difficult rewatches. You know how hard it is to watch almost any game from last year? And I'm getting irrationally furious watching him just fight for his life. And then he gets this bullshit where he catches so much shit anyway. But, he's out there playing hero ball. What the fuck was he supposed to do? Just stand there and get killed? Not throw the ball? Come on, y'all. When you practice with you're still a part of team sports right now. When you practice with the same people all the time and you know everybody's ability or inability, you get in your head where you have to be. And as soon as he's getting, rushed and pressured off the very first snap, you get into a fight or flight mode and you try to do a little too much sometimes.
Yep.
I think he did a good job of honestly not doing that too often. I think that when he did play hero ball, it was solely because it was necessary.
Yes.
He's too mobile to get hit the way he's 6'6", 240. Like a guy like that shouldn't be getting hurt all the time unless you just refuse to protect him, or, the O-line centric building is written on wet paper towel or something. I don't know if I buy it anymore. The backfield. Let's talk about the Thunder and Lightning. God, I'm sick of every backfield being called Thunder and Lightning, but whatever. We're Chargers fans. It fits. Keaton Mitchell, the addition of him, I think he led the NFL in yards per carry last year at 5.8. I mean, that's pretty damn solid. Can catch the ball in the backfield. Speaking of Mike McDaniel, he knows how to use a running back like Keaton Mitchell, and I know that Omari Hampton's going to have a field day, and Vidal, I think, can too.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on Keaton Mitchell and the possibility of him returning kicks as well?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility because I don't have any confidence left in Darius Davis at this point. So I'd love to see Keaton Mitchell be our return guy. I am so excited to see this backfield work between Keaton Mitchell, Hampton, Vidal, Ingold back there, Charlie Kolar in the blocking game. I think this backfield's going to be very explosive for the Chargers. And, in turn, that's going to take a lot of pressure off Herbert to have to play hero ball because when you can effectively run the ball, you can do good things on offense. So I'm very excited. I think this backfield's going to be fantastic to watch. And just like anything else, I hope all these guys can stay healthy the entire year.
It's always a big if. It's an if with every NFL team, but I think if you were to aggregate all the injuries from all 32 teams, just let's say over the last decade, I would imagine the Chargers are somewhere in the top 5 to 7-ish range, especially if you look at the O-line. And then, it didn't help matters either. Let me get back to this real fast. You lose Hampton and Najee Harris, walking around in an eye patch or whatever he's doing now. Yeah, he blows his eyeball out and then does his Achilles. I mean, it's the Charger thing, man. And as much as you'd like to say, oh, I should be used to this or I'm accustomed to this, no big deal. It's that meme with the dog sitting in the fire. Everything's fine.
So when I was at training camp last year, Elijah Molden came over and was signing autographs. And someone's like, how you feeling? You feeling good? And he asked the fans that were over there, he's like, you know what the injury rate is in the NFL? And he pauses. He said 100%.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's hurt. It's just a matter of, are you injured?
Yeah.
You play. We're from the old school, man. I broke my wrist in 2 games. We taped that damn thing up and we kept going.
Get back out there.
Time to play, man. Go get out there. This is different when there are millions of dollars on the line. Obviously, I'm not comparing youth football to the NFL, but hey, you're right, Shaw. Darius Davis looks slow to be so fast. Okay, you touched on that too. He's not a big guy, and when you start having a lot of lower leg injuries, which I'm familiar with, it's hard to bounce back from that. His speed looks diminished. He's not breaking any tackles. Seeing him go down on first contact was tough. And I don't like to give up on returners because without kick returners and punt returners, I didn't play a lot of football. Thank God for that position. But it is time, I think, to move on from him. And a guy like Keaton Mitchell averaged 26.9 yards a kick return last year. That's solid with these new kickoff return rules too. Yeah. So he's somebody you can see back there. And as long as they're going to rotate 3 healthy running backs in Hampton, Vidal, and Mitchell, and then you still have Jarrett Patterson too, who signed a 1-year deal to stick around. I think that you could see him as the starting kick returner, and that's exciting for a guy that, I mean, listen, I know it's ball carrier average, but 5.8 yards a carry means you're getting to where you need to go fast, even if you don't break a lot of tackles. His speed is electric, and he's somebody that would be fun to see as a returner. Moving to the third phase of the game, we've talked offense, we talked defense. Special teams. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Harbaugh was talking about his excitement for Chris O'Leary being there as a defensive coordinator coming from Western Michigan University. Your thoughts on the excitement? And of course, that's what he's going to be. He's not going to say, oh, I don't want to work with the guy, but he's excited about O'Leary. And kind of, you talked pre-show a little bit about the differences between Minter and McDonald as well.
Yeah. So I think there was a quote where they talked about the differences in them, but Chris O'Leary comes from the Jesse Minter tree. Jesse Minter coached Chris O'Leary at Indiana State. He was with the Chargers for a year, went to Western Michigan. So they had interviewed a ton of candidates. And I think Chris O'Leary was one of the last guys they interviewed and then gave him the job literally right after the news broke. So a lot of excitement in the building. I know the players that we had talked about when the news broke out, they were super excited to have Chris O'Leary as defensive coordinator. So I think there's going to be a lot of similarities on this defense this year. Even with Jesse Minter gone, you're going to see a lot of similarities between the two guys.
Well, and one of the things that from the people I've talked to at Western Michigan, you're going to see a little more blitzing out of O'Leary. You're still going to hope and pray for 4-man rush getting pressure, but he's a little more aggressive when it comes to calling blitzes. Will it play out that way in the NFL? I'm not sure. The MAC isn't exactly the AFC West But that being said, they did interview a lot of guys, a lot of candidates, a lot. They had Steve Clinkscale and still do in house. I was rooting for him. I love Clink. I think he's cool as hell. And I think he'd probably be even more aggressive. But the Chargers are kind of doing this thing where they'll have a guy or a coach for a year, and then it's like, yeah, you want to go take a job in college? Cool. Give us a call when you're done. And it's a good way to develop these guys and get them actually calling plays as a coordinator. It was good. It was really good help for him, so to speak, and being able to do that and be the kind of shot caller. And now what did it do? It earned him the defensive coordinator position with the Chargers. They need it. We got to do something, because I'll tell you right now, if the offensive line, no, I'm not going to go back to the offensive line, but I want to see that aggressive defense that you have guys like Thule, who, God, he's still a baby. I forgot he got drafted when he was 20. He's still so young. But you have Thule, Mack. They let Dafe Owe go. Sounds like Edge probably is going to be that round one pick. I wouldn't put any money on it, but if you are in the position to put some money on it, you might want to hit up Vegas and see what you can get out of that deal. Taylor, it was just a brief little meeting there, and you saw the coaches' pictures, and then the GM. Joe Ortiz is shaped like me, and that's not good. It's not a good thing, and I can't walk or run.
You know, I saw that picture. I'm like, where did this picture come from? Now I put two and two together. Like, that's pretty bad.
And yes, John, you're right. We were supposed to move on from Booga after his leg injuries. I'll just keep coming back, man. Actually, I'll do this now. Speaking of effusive praise, I've been sitting here moping around because obviously the ACL surgery and then the medial meniscus tear in my left knee. But my friend and co-host producer over here kind of just said, yeah, quit being a bitch. She didn't say that exactly, by the way. She just basically said, I don't even have I think you said you don't even have meniscus in one of your knees.
It's basically gone at this point. I've had it shaved down multiple times. I don't know how much more there is to shave.
Right, exactly. But no, honestly, it's made an impact on me. So I wanted to thank you publicly, because it's I'm not out there playing basketball every day or anything like that, but I play catch with my son as often as possible. I do play in the YMCA Pontiac Basketball League. I've got the worst hand there, if you get what I'm saying. So I've got to be able to move. I have to be able to move. I'm all right as a stand and shoot shooter, but I'm a jump shooter from 3 too. So like when you take that away from me, it's all arms. And because I haven't been working out, I don't have the guns on this show yet. Give me a couple weeks. But I just wanted to let you know how much that encouraged me and kind of got my mind right. I really, really appreciate it, though. Seriously.
Anytime. And like I told you, movement is medicine. And that doesn't just mean physical medicine.
I've got it written down in this notebook right here in quotes so that I can just keep that locked in. Yeah. I actually used it at physical therapy. Yeah. And my physical therapist, he's the owner there. His name's Mike Altenberg. He's incredible. He goes, man, you're finally learning. And then I felt guilty for not giving you credit. So I texted him afterwards. I was like, hey, that movement is medicine thing was not mine. That was from my co-host. And I said, she's this 5'3" little gal. And she said, yeah, my meniscus is like gone. You'll be fine without it. Just keep moving, whatever you do. And he just said, she's so right. Let's go. Let's see your head where it belongs.
Awesome.
I'll be honest. I kind of had it up my ass, just miserable, to be honest.
I get it. I totally get it. I've been there where it's like, damn, like, how am I in this situation again? How am I going to bounce back from this? And it's just, you just got to move and say, all right, I'm going to get 1% better today. Be a little bit better than I was yesterday. And, that compounds. And then you're back to shooting hoops.
I love this. She ain't wrong. Quit being a bitch. Just because you're the size of a baby doesn't mean you have to act like that's fucking incredible. I love you too, Dex. Love you so much, man. Well, this has been a quick edition. We're hitting about the 35-minute mark. Just want to give a shout out to, of course, again, my producer and co-host Taylor Bloom of the Electric Edge podcast. What are you working on over there, and what should fans look forward to seeing on the show? Yeah,
I have a Chargers player coming on tomorrow. It'll be a surprise.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, so that'd be fun to do. Friday, I'm recording with Tyler from Guilty as Charged. He's going to come on the show. And then a couple weeks, I have another special guest coming on, which when we get close to the date, I'll release that one. So a couple interviews. I'll be doing some recaps as well, especially before the draft. And then draft week, I'll put out a vlog once that's all said and done. So got a lot going on in the Electric Edge.
I got a lot going on. She'll be at the draft as well. We're sneaking up closer to the draft. I'm about 95% sure I'll be catching an Amtrak because my heart doctor still doesn't want me in a damn plane, which sucks. It's just another tube with a bunch of people who stink and don't care about anyone but
true.
themselves.
That's
But
very
I do
true.
like train rides. They're kind of fun.
I like train rides too. I think the longest one I did was from Washington, D.C. back up to New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
It was about the same if I had to drive, but it's comfortable and I have to stare, white knuckle it up I-95. So
horrible. I hate 95. Anyway, we're not going to get into road stuff. And before I prove John Kegley right, we're not going to do a long outro. I get better at that shit. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody in the comment section. Sorry that I didn't get the stuff out like we normally do prior to the show. Just got caught up hanging out with my kids. They're on break right now, so we were out running around spending some money. But
that's more important.
Wouldn't you say? I say
1,000,000%.
But hey, thanks for tuning in to Bolt Blitz Uncut. We'll be back. Let's see, tomorrow for the Midnight Navy helmet giveaway.
Sick helmet.
So cool. It's going to be sad to part with. Whatever. Somebody else will appreciate it more than I do. I'm Booga Peters on behalf of Taylor Bloom. This has been Bolt Blitz Uncut. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you, folks.